So I'll read the first question here. Swamiji, can you please elaborate form of jiva and vyatireka form of jiva? Anvaya form of jiva and vyatireka form of jiva. That's an interesting question. Can somebody tell me, what is meant by this question? Anvaya form of vyatireka, jiva, and vyatireka form of jiva. I have not heard of this.
It's my question.
Okay,
Yeah, it's my question.
Yes.
I have come across when I was reading.
Yes, speak in the microphone, yeah.
When I was reading a book. Sorry.
Huh.
It's fine. Yeah, I have come across when I was reading a book, there was a two, Anvaya Jiva and Vyatireka Jiva. So I was not very clear what's the meaning of those.
I also don't know. Anvaya jiva and vyatireka jiva, somebody's own terms, but I have not come across that. I don't know what you were reading, but...
I was reading a book called Bochanamrita.
Oh, that is Swami terminology. Oh, okay. So this is a technical term that we have to go to them, in fact, in what sense they have used these expressions. But let us say if you want to interpret Anvaya and Vyatireka, then Anvaya would be the Jivatma that enjoys that harmony, and Vyatireka is opposite of Anvaya. Anvaya means coexistence and Vyatireka means non-coexistence. When two things exist together, it's called Anvaya. So where the pot is, there the clay is. Where the sun, day is, then the sun is. That's called Anvaya. And where there is night, there is no sun. That is called Vyatireka. So two things coexist as Anvaya. They do not coexist, it's called Vyatireka. And so in what sense they were used, I do not know, but could be that when you are in harmony with Ishvara, then there is Anvaya, and when not in harmony with Ishvara, it's called Vyatireka. Something like that could be the intention there. How do you get the grace of the Lord? How do you get the grace of the Guru? Do you need grace or self-effort to conquer inner enemies? Do you need grace or self-effort? So let us take this question. Do you need grace in order to conquer your enemies? Or do you need self-effort to conquer the enemies? I would say you need both. You always need grace of Ishvara and grace of Guru and the grace of self. We need the grace in order to be successful, but merely grace cannot make us successful. You also need self-effort. So self-effort accompanied by grace. So next question is how to get that grace? How do you get the grace of grace means making them favorable to you. Grace of Ishvara means making Ishvara favorable to us. Then things like our Puja Swamiji was once travelling from Mumbai to Ahmedabad. There's a long line of security, and Swamiji could see that there's no way that he can catch that flight. Line was so long. And he had almost given up. Then all of a sudden some agent came. Ahmedabad, Ahmedabad, Ahmedabad. Yes. Then he was led through another door, quick check of security, and right up to the plane. So sometimes this can happen. This is called grace. So self-effort sometimes is not enough. We require this grace, meaning that the laws should become favorable. Laws, we always cannot achieve everything by fulfilling or going according to laws. Therefore, sometimes laws should become favorable to us. Like this fellow, coming and telling you, okay, Swami, come this way. Sometimes, so this is called grace, and that is called favor. So sometimes Ishvara can favor us. So it's a combination of self-effort and the favor of Ishvara or favor of Guru, and you get the favor by pleasing them. So worshipping Ishvara is the way to get Ishvara's grace. Worshipping Guru is the way to get Ishvara, Guru's grace. Worshipping self is the way to get grace of the self. We require both self-effort and the grace. What is the solution to anxiety and overthinking? This was questioned yesterday. What is meant by overthinking? Means the mind keeps on thinking and thinking without your participation. Mind has just developed a habit of getting on its own track endlessly. So that shows a lack of alertness, number one. Yes, mind will think because mind is influenced by some anxiety. Some concern may be there in the mind, some anxiety may be there in the mind, or it may be a habit also. So therefore, to slowly overcome this habit of overthinking, as you say, is to become awareful or alert about the mind and slowly develop the ability to arrest the mind or stop the mind from doing what it is doing, that we can do when we become alert. So the moment you become aware that mind is overthinking, at least you seem to know that mind is overthinking. When you find that, stop the mind from overthinking. How do you stop that? Make the mind do the right thing, thinking. How do you do that? Let the mind repeat, Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya, something like that. So we engage the mind in something which is purposeful for the mind to become free from purposeless activity. If mind, often it has become a habit, just as a child just runs around without any purpose, so mind also runs around without a purpose. We give some purpose to the mind. Let the mind do some meaningful activity. And one of them is this japa. Repeat Ishvara's name. Or engage in some activity. Hopefully some activity of charity or seva, some activity like that. So we create new samskaras in the mind. Mind is doing what it is doing because of the present tendency samskaras. We create new samskaras in the mind. Then the mind will slowly think the way we want the mind to think. Anxiety is also something very natural about future. Because there is uncertainty in life, we do not know what the next moment will bring, and therefore there is anxiety. What will happen? And the way to overcome the anxiety is to have faith in Ishvara. That Ishvara is in fact managing my life, and I have a trust in Ishvara that whatever Ishvara does will be good for me. He is not Swamiji, he is doing things that are not good for me. Give him the benefit of doubt. And so, accepting Ishvara as benevolent in our life and trusting Ishvara Shraddha is what enables us to overcome the anxiety. Willingness to accept what Ishvara gives. Willingness to accept the unpleasant in our life. Anxiety is because we are not willing to accept what we do not like. We are not willing to accept the unpleasant. So willingness to accept the unpleasant. Let Ishvara decide what will happen, what will be given to me, and I am willing to accept whatever Ishvara gives me. I have the freedom to make the effort, of course, but I have no control over the outcome. So willingness to accept the outcome as Ishvara's grace is a way to overcome the anxiety. Because anxiety does not does not help us in any way. Ultimately, we have to confront with what comes. So, educate the mind. Mind, what's the point in anxiety? You can't change anything by anxiety. Anxiety, in fact, robs away of your energy. Be willing to accept what comes gracefully. Accept gracefully what you cannot change. Have the courage to change what you can, which is the right action. Accept gratefully what you cannot change, that's the outcome of the action. So that is the solution to anxiety. Can we have more than one guru? You can. As long as one guru does not create in you the conflict. If there are two gurus who give contradictory or conflicting messages, then you do. Otherwise, what do you mean by a guru is not an ordinary thing. Just to listen to more than one person doesn't mean that you have many gurus. But anyway, there is nothing wrong in gaining the knowledge of wisdom from more than one sources. Nothing wrong in it. As long as we have the maturity and wisdom to decide what to take and what not to take. Just as when food is served to us, we know what to eat and what not to eat. Similarly also, when we expose ourselves to many speakers or many teachers, we should have the maturity to determine what is to be taken and what is not to be taken. Otherwise, there is nothing but great confusion when you expose yourself to more than one speaker, one teacher. Likely to have confusion. And so, it is desirable that you stick to one. And when you find that you have the maturity to know what to take and what not to take, then you can certainly listen to others also. What is Ananyashraya in Pushtimarga? This is the tradition mainly prevalent in Gujarat and Rajasthan by a great saint whose name was Vallabhacharyaji. Like Shankaracharya is also looked upon as Jagat Guru by his devotees. And the teaching that is imparted and the method, it's called Pushtimarga, mainly serving seva of Bhagavan, Ishtadevata. Then the people following him say that you should have Ananya Ashraya, you should have one Ashraya only, you should stick to only little Lord Krishna, that's all. There should be no other Devata, no other deity in your life. Ananya Ashraya. Anya Ashraya means resorting to someone else, Ananya Ashraya not resorting to... Now Lord Krishna also uses the word Ananya Ashraya. Ananyas, Chantyantamam, etc. But then Lord Krishna doesn't narrow down like this. It's quite likely that there may be some kind of a control or narrowness in preventing you from resorting to any other teaching. At the same time, I don't think that you have to keep on shopping and you have to keep on dabbling into things, because all that can create, unless you have maturity, dabbling to many things can create a lot of confusion. So that is why they say that you stick to one. Stick to one devata, one mantra, one book, that is the best thing, until you gain the maturity to be able to decide what is taken and what is not to be taken. So there is a merit in saying that you should not deviate from your teaching, should not deviate from your mantra, should not deviate from your guru, should not deviate from the devata. That's the best for us, because if you want water, you start digging a well. How long should I dig? Until you get the water. Oh, but he got in 15 feet, I have not got feet. But that's your, there's a different kind of soil. And so if you keep on just shifting your loyalty from one to the other, then also it's likely that you may become confused. So as long as this is not very, as long as you have reasonable freedom in doing what you're doing, it's a good idea to stick to one teacher, one scripture, one devata, one mantra. It is practical. That doesn't mean that I cannot go down a temple, I cannot ever repeat the mantra. No, that is that is too much of a restriction. But Om Namah Shivaya I cannot repeat because I say Krishna. So in fact, this Vaishnava, they don't even say Shiva. They don't, they think that you get polluted by uttering the name of Shiva. But they do not recognize there is one of the most sacred stotras which they repeat. It's called Yamunashtakam. These Pushtimarga Vaishnavas repeat with great reverence. Anantogana bhushite Shiva viranchi devastute. And that Yamunashtakam says, hey Yamunaji, you are possessed of countless virtues and you are praised by Brahma and Shiva. That Shiva comes right in that stotra. But they say, oh, we should not utter. This is... I don't think that you will be polluted just because you utter the name Shiva. That is all. That's getting to the other extreme. At the same time, keep on dabbling into one, then that also is not desirable. So you have sort of viveka or maturity. Does that answer your question? In case not, then raise your hand to seek clarification. Advaita Vedanta teaches that I am pure consciousness and so is everything. The only entity that there is Brahman or pure consciousness, and that alone manifests just as one water manifests as countless waves and foam, etc. So also one consciousness alone manifests as all these names and forms. That's what Vedanta teaches. A wave may look different from other wave, but basically it is water. Similarly also, a name and form looks different from other one, but the essential nature of everything is consciousness. Even though we get this knowledge, why is it that most of us cannot realize or experience this pure consciousness? It requires purity of mind. The mind which is under control of impulse, mind is made free from kama, krodha, lobha or raga, dvesha. The mind should become sattvic for the mind to experience myself as consciousness or everything as Brahman. So requirement is purification of mind or the sattvicness of the mind. And for that are the values, attitudes, karma yoga, worship. All of this is meant for purification of mind, making the mind our friend, as we discussed. So what's the sadhana one can follow? The sadhana. That let the life become worship. Swakarmana tamavyarcha siddhim vindati manava. Lord Krishna says, worshipping Ishvara with your karma, you attain purification of mind. So do whatever you do in the spirit of offering to Ishvara. Let Ishvara enter our life. Bring Ishvara into our life. The words of Puja Swamiji, more of Ishvara, less of I. So it is I, means ragadvesha, that are denying me the benefit of what is, and we make a deliberate effort to make our mind free from ragadveshas by what we discussed. That is a sadhana that we should follow. In path of sadhana, no more finding pleasure in sensuous objects. The same time, not reach the higher happiness, meaning I do not find satisfaction in the sense pleasures, nor do I find satisfaction in myself. Now what do I do? It fills a vacuum. So we can make the journey more enjoyable. How can I make the journey more enjoyable? Listening to Vedanta, everything is mithya, there is no happiness. And that's why now I don't find happiness anywhere. And I have not discovered happiness in myself, so where I am in a limbo. So karma yoga. Do something. Karma is capable of generating happiness. Right kind of karma. Karma of seva primarily. Or karma performed as seva, as service, as offering, as doing something for the other that what I would have liked that person to do for me. I reach out to other the way I want others to reach out to me, and therefore that karma is very important. This happens to many people. Listening to Vedanta, it's all, but then the way to transform the mind is mind has become, this is called tamas, this state, and mind has become what it has become on account of not doing the right things. So make the mind do the right things. Meaning reaching out, perform acts of kindness, do that. That karma of seva, of reaching out, is the way to slowly make our mind free from depression. So it will simply thinking and simply, concretely do something. Go out and, do the seva. So there are volunteers. Many charitable things are going on. Go and join them. Feed the hungry. Give water to thirsty. Do something for those who are tired, etc. And you will find immediate satisfaction. When you are able to create comfort for a person who is in distress by your effort, you have instant satisfaction. So the way to make the mind happy is by making our life karma yoga, by performing karma in the spirit of charity, offering, helping, serving. That is a sure way of transforming our mind. Then karma becomes enjoyable, life becomes enjoyable. Does mind control the body or body controls the mind? Can a weak person have a strong mind? A weak person can have a strong mind. Weakness of the body is one thing, weakness of mind is a different thing. Mind becomes strong by doing the right things. By not allowing the mind to take liberty with values. The right values and right attitude, the commitment to do what is right, is what makes the mind strong. What makes the mind weak is because we have permitted the mind to do what it wanted to do and then thus violate the basic values or attitudes of life. Then there is conflict in the mind. Whenever we violate the law, a moral law that is existing in the universe, when we violate the law, there is conflict and guilt in our mind. This is what makes the mind weak. And therefore, a commitment to follow the law, moral law, the right values, right attitudes, that is the way to make the mind strong. Even if the body is weak, we can make the mind strong. By making the mind do what is right. A commitment to do what is right. A commitment to do what is right in terms of moral values, in terms of the right attitudes, that's what will make the mind strong. Even if your body is weak, you can still be a very strong person. Gandhi was not a very strong person, Although he was strong also, by the way, he was a very healthy person. Anyway, but still, the weakness comes when the body grows old. But he was a very strong person. He controlled millions and millions of people. Not controlled, people just, fell at his feet. So strong mind by doing the right thing. And that he stretched the right thing to infinity. No wrong thing at all. No, that commitment made him as strong as he was. A fundamental assumption for Vedanta teachings seems to be the existence of certain natures of living organisms. How is this affected by things like gene editing or other behavioral modifications? The question seems to be that Vedanta is based on accepting the nature of things. If nature is changed, what will happen to Vedanta? Nothing will happen. Vedanta only is based on the realities of life. What is the basic nature of things? That everything is Brahman. That is what Vedanta is based on. Not this is an animal, this is a mosquito and it's this nature and the dog has this nature. That dog ultimately is Ishvara. And mosquito also is. That is what Vedanta is based on. Not in mosquito-ness or darkness of dog. In the Brahman-ness of mosquito, or Brahman-ness of dog. And that will never change. Regardless, you can change the behavior of mosquito. You may, or dog. It is possible. Because human being wants to control the whole world, and therefore he may control these fellows also and make them. But Vedanta is not based on the nature of body or the mind. Vedanta is based on the basic reality of life, and that everything is Brahman, consciousness, perfection. And that will not change. Meaning that you cannot rob the fire away, rob the heat from fire. You can put fire in different shapes and so forth and so shades, but that is hot. You can't change. So essential nature cannot be changed, even by all kinds of gene, whatever, what is it? Gene editing. You cannot change the essential nature of something. That a human being is a conscious being, that cannot be changed. The conscious nature cannot be changed. Some behavior can be changed, etc., but not the essential nature. Last question, but all right. Yeah, I guess we have to hand over this facility. Does life and birth cycle stop after moksha is attained? It does, because there is no need for that. See, we are born because there is a need. As long as the need is so long, we will keep on making effort. And our birth is, the purpose of birth is again to attain that goal of moksha, and that will keep on happening until we reach that goal. Once we reach the goal, there is no need to be born, thus become free from the need to be born. It's not that you are free from birth, free from the need to be born. Is intellect always right? No. Intellect is not always right. Intellect, when properly educated, may be right. Can I determine how far I am from moksha, process of death, and when does next birth take place? Moksha is not, the goal is not to become free from process of birth and death. Moksha has to be attain happiness here. We don't care for birth and death. Vedanta is not concerned about birth and death and becoming free from sorrow. You follow? Generally, birth is equated to sorrow, therefore it is said to be free from birth and death, but primarily it is freedom from unhappiness, sorrow or sadness. That is what Vedanta is. Okay, so we'll have to stop here. Om Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinah Sarve Santu Niramayaha Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu Ma Kaschid Dukkha Bhag Bhaved Asato Ma Sadgamaya Tamaso Ma Jyotirgamaya Mrityorma Amritangamaya Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamada Yapurnameva Vasishyate Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om.